Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic hypersonic.
Positronic hypersonic.
Positronic hypersonic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I'm here to talk to you about the latest episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. It was called Shuttle to Kenfori. And as it starts, much to his alarm, Captain Pike discovers Captain Battelle on the floor of his quarters as a result of the fact that she is still sick from her prior Gorn infestation. He's then informed that there's a rare flower he can obtain, which would help her, but in order to acquire it, he has to break regulations and go to a forbidden planet on the edge of Klingon space, which he immediately does with Dr. Mbenga on a shuttle, leaving the Enterprise behind so as not to involve it in any treaty breaking. Before he can land on the planet, the shuttle encounters a Klingon warning beacon which says turn back or die, a warning he ignores. Aboard Enterprise, Number 1 is in command when the Enterprise detects a Klingon signal likely coming from a ship, which soon launches a shuttle of its own to the planet's surface and destroys the Enterprise shuttle before its landing party enters the same facility where the Doctor and the Captain have found the flower that they need. It isn't long before the Klingons get the drop on our heroes, who are then saved when some zombie-like creatures attack the Klingons. Aboard Enterprise, Captain Battelle's pain becomes excruciating, so Spock does a mind meld with her to help her meditate the pain away, and it affects him to the point where he loses control from the pain that he begins to feel. And Nurse Chapel has to slap him out of it, but it does succeed in reducing Captain Battelle's pain. Spock then meets with Number 1 and the other senior officers and is informed that the landing party has not checked in, and he devises a plan that will get them within emergency transport range of the landing party in 4 hours. But Lieutenant Ortegas doesn't like the plan, and she comes up with an extremely risky one that would work much more quickly, but which Number 1 rejects. It turns out that Dr. Mbenga plans to cure Captain Battelle by turning her into a Gorn-human hybrid of some type, and this greatly upsets Captain Pike. But they don't have much time to discuss it before they're attacked by, again, zombies, which they're saved from by the Klingon landing party leader who tries to get them in her shuttle. But then all three are attacked by zombies and have to flee to the confines of a very small area that they enclose in a force field, only for the leader of the Klingon landing party to wound Captain Pike and confront Dr. Mbenga, who apparently she's been tracking because he killed her father, the ambassador from last season. Meanwhile, Enterprise sneaks past the Klingon battlecruiser in orbit, but then have to slow down even more not to be detected. But when Ortegas disobeys orders and the Klingon ship detects them, well, here comes trouble. The Klingon landing party leader is apparently very upset that she didn't get to kill her father, who was dishonored in the Klingon Empire because he was seen as a traitor for cozying up to the Federation. And now she has to kill Mbenga to regain her own honor, and Mbenga admits to killing her father in cold blood, despite previously saying it was a defensive killing, at which point he enters a fight to the death with the Klingon, which he wins, but then spares her life at the end of, much to her dismay, just before the force field protecting them all comes down, resulting in a few zombies getting in before they can restore it. Forced with a choice between a life of dishonor and sacrificing herself to have an honorable death to spare the Doctor and the Captain, the Klingon chooses the latter, and the landing party is rescued. Pike then declines to file a report about Mbenga killing the ambassador in cold blood. Number 1 reprimands Ortegas with a 2-week suspension from duty and an assignment to Chain of Command Refresher School. Pike then confronts Battelle about her plan to risk becoming a Gorn and how she kept it from him before the episode ends. So, I did like this episode. I didn't think there was anything fantastic about it, but nothing about it annoyed me greatly. Therefore, it's, a middle-of-the-road, okay episode of Star Trek. Folks have been criticizing the show for, going zombie, which, I guess you can criticize them for if you want, but Star Trek has always done horror-themed episodes, occasionally. And so that's kind of what they did here, and they introduced, for lack of a better word, as is discussed in the episode, zombies. And I didn't really have a problem with it. I mean, there has to be some kind of threat, right? And so they went with zombies. So what? It works for me. I thought that the character stuff that they gave Dr. Mbenga in this episode was great. He's one of my favorite characters on the show alongside Nurse Chapel. And so I enjoyed that very much. And he's a fantastic actor, the man that plays Dr. Mbenga. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, especially because, it dealt a little more with that whole thing about did he murder the guy? Was it self-defense? And the whole sort of moral dilemma of that. And still doesn't quite resolve it because in the end, he sort of agrees with Captain Pike that he was just telling a story when he said that he did it on purpose. But that after sort of saying, no, it was true when he said it. So you still don't know what really happened. And I think that's pretty cool, actually. And I think it's interesting that Pike chose not to report it. He uses the excuse of, well, we were off books when we went there, so there was no mission, so there's nothing for me to report. And I guess that's cool, but like, I don't know, he didn't serve in the war, so you can't say, he was doing other things for Starfleet at the time, so you can't say that he gets it from his war experience, that why that guy had to die or whatever, or what Mbenga was feeling when he killed him, or any of that. So you can't, go there. It's something he's strictly doing because Mbenga is his friend, and we've seen him sort of do that before when he kind of ignored the whole thing with Una being Illyrian. And so, I don't know. I guess it's okay. Kirk and Picard did similar stuff. Cisco certainly did. So I guess it makes sense. And, on that note, it's a little weird, I think, that they reprimanded Ortegas, though they really had to, because otherwise you have this situation where Starfleet officers are just doing stuff and getting away with it. But like, I don't know. If I were her, I think I would have felt like, wait a minute, you're giving me crap for the little thing that I did, whereas this whole mission was off book because the captain wants to save his girlfriend. Like we're doing an off book mission. The whole crew is basically complicit in the violating of regulations, even though the ship itself didn't. And we're going to give me crap for, disobeying an order that got us in a little bit of a bind that we came out of okay. I don't love that, but she doesn't say anything. Maybe they'll deal with it in the future. Who knows? Probably not. But another thing I didn't like is that the Klingon landing party leader looked weird to me. I mean, first of all, I hate these uniforms they have with the freaking gold lame armor. It's horrible. But obviously they cast a black woman to play the part, which is fine. They've been doing that with Klingons forever. And then they just make the forehead makeup sort of match their skin tone. But it seemed like they put makeup on her cheeks and stuff where they normally wouldn't really do that. They would just match her skin tone to they match the skin tone of the ridges to her skin tone. But it seemed like they darkened her up and it came off looking like she had a dirty face, which was just kind of weird. Like, I mean, I guess they're Klingons, they're rough and tumble and stuff, but why does she have to look dirty? I didn't like that. As I said, I hate the uniforms. And then on another sort of cosmetic note, I did not like at all what was going on with number one's hair in this episode. Like, what kind of hairdo was that they gave her? It was awful. And the look was compounded by the fact that they gave her Vulcan-esque eyebrows. They don't arch way up like Vulcan eyebrows, but they kind of look like Vulcan eyebrows. And I don't know if she's always had that. I don't think so. So like, what was that about? I don't understand. And I'm curious to know if any of it has to do with another project that she's in. Like, isn't she playing Mystique in an upcoming MCU outing? And did her shooting schedule for that sort of overlap with this, where they had to kind of do something with her hair and makeup so that it wouldn't conflict with that production? I don't know. But wow, did it look bad? It was not great. So I don't know. There were things to like about this episode and not too many things to, dislike that made it stupid or anything. But, it wasn't, I don't think, any great shakes in terms of an episode. Though I am curious to see what's going to become of Captain Patel and this whole human-Gorn hybridization situation. So we'll have to wait and see about that. But that's really it. So I'm going to get out of here. I'll be back with another video soon. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life.